Hello and welcome to the Extremist Publishing Podcast. I'm Tom Christie, and I'm delighted to be joined today by a brand new friend of the podcast. He's one of the most respected and beloved voices on the airwaves here in the Forth Valley area of Scotland, and everyone in central Scotland certainly will have heard of him and his show. It's Mr. Mark Wallace.
Shucks, Tom. I'm blushing. It's me, Mark Wallace, by the way. It's all about me, Tom.
So, Mark, I feel like you and I should be old friends because you've had me on your show 2 or 3 times and, very much enjoyed the experience. But this is the first time we've actually met face to face.
Fantastic, isn't it? I mean, actually, when we met today, when I came in earlier, I actually thought we'd met. But no, we haven't met. No, so hello.
Well, it's great to have you here, Mark. And I would like to ask a little bit about what got you into radio in the first place.
Interesting story. You just put your hand up when you want me to stop. I don't have any problems talking. But literally, I was chatting to someone about the sale of their business. And they were setting up a radio station in Stirling. And they asked me would I come on and be a business presenter and talk about business and politics. And that's how it started.
Well, it's an amazing thing, isn't it? Because you think in this age of, digital media and podcasts that radio would be something that was in decline, but in actual fact, the exact opposite is the case. There are apps for all sorts of different world radio and DAB radio access, and I don't think radio has been anywhere near as popular as it is now.
100%. We broadcast by an internet station now, and we're a different station, and we're picking up, people listening in Canada, Japan, America. In fact, a majority of our audience is from abroad.
Yeah. Isn't that an amazing thing? Because it's a great way of, finding out what's going on in different places, finding out what the current affairs are and what's concerning individual people in different countries. And yet so many of the times they're actually playing much the same music as we are.
Exactly the same, and some of the conversations I have with the listeners from abroad, they do chat about the cost of living, how high the rent is, how high the heating is. I think the world, we're all experiencing the same difficulties at the moment.
So would you like to say a bit more about your show and, why it's become so popular?
It's not everybody's cup of tea, Tom, because I've obviously got quality jokes, and that's a matter of opinion. But can I say, I'm really pleased with the show because it's allowed me to introduce people from another passion of mine, and that's a group called the Creative Veterans. It's allowed me to bring them in, and I think what people like about the show, it's an old-fashioned chat show. We'll get back to the Creative Veterans later if you don't mind, but it's an old-fashioned chat show where people get to do a request. I tell the odd rubbish joke, and I will be honest, they're not the best. I did ask the audience, shall I stop telling the jokes? Popular demand, they said no. They're that bad, we like them. And we play a variety of music, anywhere from the 50s up to present.
Yeah.
So yeah, variety.
You've managed to survive my taste in music.
Everything. Now, what's your taste, just out of interest?
Oh, 80s and 90s.
Well, 80s is the most popular on the radio, believe it or not.
Yeah, I can well believe it. There's so many fantastic bands from back then.
Oh, fantastic. And they're all making they're all coming back.
Yeah. Now, one of the other things that people enjoy about your show is you've got a fantastic range of different characters. You've got everything from Care Home Billy through to, respected authors like Ian McNeish. Have it all popped in to visit your programme at one point or another?
Well, yeah, we've been so lucky. I mean, you mentioned Ian. He's an author with your publishing. I better get this right, Extremist Publishing. And Ian's books are extremely good and easy to read and very interesting, and he's come along. Now, we have him as our official storyteller now. Mm-hmm. So he'll come and tell a little story, and you've got to answer whether it's true or false. And quite often it's false, but yes, it's Ian. And then we've got Care Home Billy, who can I say is not in a care home. It is a military joke. We just joke because he's old. And we've also got Auntie Morag. I don't know if you've heard that one. And Auntie Morag is an ex-wife of a military person, and she pretends to be my Auntie Morag. And we've got my official joke writer, who's an ex-Remy engineer called Grangemouth Ray. So yeah, I've managed to bring them all into the show in one way or another.
Yeah, and that's an amazing thing because it brings a sense of community to your show. And it's another reason why your programme is so popular right the way through the community. Not just in Clackmannanshire, but right the way through Falkirk and Stirling and other parts of the Central Belt as well.
It's starting to pick up. It's a slow burner, the internet, but yeah, we're literally getting listeners from all over the place. And the main thing is they're interacting on the show, and that's when you start to get that good feeling, and it's worthwhile because they're sending in questions, they're sending in requests, and in some cases I've done the odd nighttime show, and people have actually sent in and discussed problems and issues, which was very interesting.
Yeah, because I mean, isn't that the beauty of doing these things over the internet? You can marry it up with things like social media, you're getting interaction from people right throughout the area, but as you've mentioned before, it can be other parts of the country, it can be different countries entirely.
100%. And the radio you mentioned earlier is increasing in popularity. It definitely is. More and more people are switching off the TVs because they block watch TV now, Netflix or all these different programs where they do have time. And more people are tuning in the garden. In fact, we often get people sending requests in when they're on holiday, saying Benidorm by the pool.
Yeah. Which is a great thing. I mean, because people often talk now, don't they, about the need to kind of switch off and take time to relax. And radio is a fantastic way of doing that, to have a different kind of entertainment that's a bit more meditative, that gives you the opportunity to really listen to how people think and what they want to say. I think that's a great thing.
Works well, and it's on your phone. You mentioned earlier, they literally have an app on the phone anywhere in the world. They switch on the radio station and they can hear my dulcet tones.
So when the Buggles said that video killed the radio star, they got it dead wrong, didn't they?
They totally buggled that one.
So tell us more then about the Veterans Tales. It's a fantastic initiative.
The Veterans Tale, very proud of it. It's very difficult. There's a problem with, we have this group called Creative Veterans, and the idea is it's to support veterans who suffer or have suffered anxiety right up to PTSD. And the idea is just to get them out of isolation, get them involved, make them part of a community. And that's what that Veterans Tales was all about. We decided to get a project where we could actually have the veterans tell a story or perform a story and choose a bit of music and just do a little bit of almost acting on the radio, if that makes sense. They also, behind the scenes, got shown how to use all the material, all the products as well, i.e. the faders and the microphones, and they got a little bit into the frequencies as well. So we were very pleased with the output. And yeah, sadly after that, one of the veterans passed away, David Gray, if you don't mind me mentioning. Big part of our group, and we were so pleased we managed to do that before that time came, and he was so grateful to get his story over, which was called Archie's Issues.
Yeah, because creativity is such an important part of a therapeutic process, particularly things like improvisation. I remember when the big improvisational comedy boom of the late 80s and early 90s took place, how many people said it was something that was able to build their confidence and their sense of empowerment. And I think there's something very similar happening here, isn't there?
Without a doubt. You think some people wouldn't come out of the house. We managed to get people who wouldn't say boo to a ghost actually get on the radio, talk live. All the performances were not edited on that show, so the recordings were live. None of the music was edited. We did that on purpose. And I've got certain people who've just part of the group who I can 100% say they have absolutely transformed from some of these projects, but I think the radio project was the catalyst.
And what are the major themes that you deal with? Is it a variety of different themes, or do they sort of predominate in one area?
No, we deal with all sorts of any suggestions. We're always looking for suggestions. Do you mean on the radio or within the group?
Well, within the group generally. But
within the group generally, we're looking at anything. I mean, we did a mural on a wall in Tillicootree. We've done the radio project. We've done a show at a full length show, 2 shows, one at the Fringe. We're going to be doing a show at the Fringe later on as well, and we're about to do a variety night, which will come out after the podcast on the 19th of September at the William Wallace in Causeway Head.
So tell us more about your Fringe experience. How can people find out more about that?
That was fantastic. It was up near the Surgeons Hall, and we did a show that looked at anxiety, PTSD in the armed forces, basically showing how it starts. For example, it started with Northern Ireland. We played it back to that that period, the 70s and 80s. Started with Northern Ireland. The soldier started to show signs of anxiety. We took it right up to the end where they'd actually got full-blown PTSD, and it finished the production where we actually showed how people could get help and how the individual shoulder soldier finally got help as well. So it covered right from the start, right to receiving help and then carrying on with a normal life.
Yeah, because behavioural psychology is a famously complicated topic, and one that is full of complexity. So hats off to you for finding such an effective way of harnessing that creativity in such a positive way.
We're really pleased with that production, and we've moved on from them. One of our committee members is a mental health nurse. We've also got a counsellor on the committee as well, so we're looking more at that, where we can offer some of our veterans not just that creative way to get out, out of the systems or to get involved, but also they've got people there who can maybe help them on a more personal level.
Yeah, and I mean, isn't that so important, vitally important, that you're able to harness that degree of creativity in a way that makes people reflect on their own experiences on one hand, but on the creativity, on the artistic expression on the other?
It does. It's a great way, creativity, and a lot of people do manage their lives by being creative. They just don't realise. Writing a Christmas card is an example. Making your own Christmas card. Some people do that. Don't realise that's actually helping them sew a button on it. Maybe make a dress. A lot of veterans have got those skills, believe it or not, and actually participate on their own, being creative, but don't join a group. And that's what we want to change: is bring those skills to us. Make costumes, maybe help make, maybe do a bit of acting, maybe do a bit of presenting, maybe build a set,
Yeah, because a creative community is such an important thing and such a powerful thing, actually, bringing people together.
It is, and there is funding available. If you get if you set yourself up correctly, you can get funding for a lot of the projects. We did get funding for the radio project, which was from another organisation, but we did get the funding, and that's important as well. And it's not to buy people teas and coffees. The funding is to at least pay the people who are supporting us a decent living wage.
And you mentioned your event coming up at the William Wallace. What other future events do you have for creative veterans, and what's the future looking like?
It's looking really rosy. I mean, we've got that coming up. We're going to see how that pans out, because it's only a small affair. We want to see how that works. We'd like to make that a more regular occurrence. We've also got book readings and poetry. Dates haven't been confirmed, but literally, and another mural. We're looking for a site to do another mural, where we'll bring in a mural, should I say, where we can bring in a professional artist again, which we did last time. And there is a chance we will be taking another production to the Fringe next year, Army at the Fringe.
I mean, it's fantastic news. So, I mean, if someone's out there listening and they're thinking, that they live in this area and they would be really interested to get involved, what's the best way of them finding out more about it?
Is go on to the Creative Veterans Scotland Facebook site. They can see us on there, Creative Veterans Scotland. They'll see information on there, and they'll be able to contact us via that site as the easiest way at the moment. We're just looking at media at the moment, social media, so we will be looking at other areas to contact us. That's the main one at the moment, though.
Well, I mean, it's tremendous that you're able to use your radio show as well to get the word out about this really worthwhile and really positive endeavour. But in terms of your radio show particularly, you must have so many fascinating memories of the different people you've met and the different people you've interviewed. Would you like to share some of them with us?
Yeah, we've met some really nice people over the time. They put me on the spot. I've got the councillor, I forget his name now. It used to be the Conservative councillor for Stirling. I actually found him very interesting, because he opened my eyes to the way people perceive the Conservatives in Scotland. And I don't mind saying this because I sit on the fence, but it was really interesting. When he came on, the questions I got live were very direct and very personal and very cutting. However, when I had the SNP chap on a few weeks later, they were very nice and just very generous. And it opened my eyes. I'm not on politics, but it opened my eyes to how strong politics are in certain areas. And in this area, it's obvious it was a strong move towards the Scottish National Party, which is fine. But he was an interesting guest because he handled it very well. I only showed him some of the questions, and the ones I showed him. So I wasn't memorable, but it was a very enjoyable interview to see how a politician works under pressure. The other interviews we've been involved in, well, we've had groups in. I know that Julie, we both know Julie, if I don't mind, came in from Startup, and that opened my eyes to, well, I knew there was a lot of poverty around, so that was memorable in the fact that it made me realise that there's a lot going under the scene. Sometimes we can be a little bit blinded in our own lives, thinking about what we can do for ourselves. So that was a really good interview. And now I'm trying to think of mainly charities. We had Maggie's, the cancer charity, who have the place where you can go and just talk and chat about things if your family have got problems. I can't remember the second name of that. I wish I could. And they came over and they were very interesting, and they took me to. I went to see their facility. Again, fantastic. This palliative care and how they support families who are unwell or maybe affected by the big C. So as far as stars are concerned, I don't think I've actually had any stars on board. Can anybody? We've obviously got a group of people here listening to us at the moment. Thanks, guys, the production team. And can we think of any stars we've had on? Well, there's the silence, Tom.
But,
I tell you, could I mention one person?
by all
A
means.
young lady, Francesca Gray. She's David, who I mentioned, David Gray's daughter-in-law. He passed one of our members, one of our founder members, and she's a country singer. And I must say she's a bit of a star because she's very humble. She won't mind me saying. She's from Stirling, but she was put forward and nominated as one of the top country singers in the Nashville Awards this year. She couldn't get there, but at least she was on the nomination list, so she's doing very well at the moment and got an album coming out. Quick plug, Francesca.
That's fantastic news. And as you say, it just goes to show how much talent there is right across the country in so many different places.
There really is, and one of the things I have done on the show is promote new talent, and through a group called Spigra Publishers. They deal with music. I don't know if you've heard of those. You may have seen them and I have had a few people recommended, and I've tried them, and yeah, we've had some great singers. One I'd like to mention is Emma Jane, a lady from over in Loch Lomond. We've played a lot of her music, very, very talented. And a Belfast jazz singer as well, who was very good, a Catherine Timoney. So yeah, we've come across some interesting people who may be stars of the future.
Yeah, and isn't that an amazing thing? Music particularly, because there are so many different styles out there and so many different people finding that particular niche that works for them.
There is, and a lot of them are coming back. There's a new single out now. Your readers might remember a group called the Rubettes. Sugar Baby Love. Do you remember that tune? Well,
Yeah.
half of that group have just come out. They've called themselves the Sugar Baby Loves or something. They've got a new single out now called Honey Love.
Yeah.
And it's doing very well in the Heritage charts. I think it's up to number 9, and I was chatting to them recently. And also, can I just mention, some musicians and some actors, etc., never really reach the big time. But some of them come back to the fringe every year and do very, very well. And myself and my wife Diane, we went to see the Beach Boys and the False Seasons. And can I just say, they were very, very good.
Yeah, that's the amazing thing about the Fringe, isn't it? It really does have something for everyone. You know, it's a fantastic kind of creative patchwork right across the way. Music, drama, you know, just about everything in between. Literary festivals. You know, I think we're really fortunate to have it.
Oh, well, I mean, Paul Sinner was in the next building. Have you ever watched The Chase? I nearly went to see him, but I think he's a better chaser than comedian, but that's just my opinion.
Yeah, that's the amazing thing about comedy, isn't it? A bit like politics.
Yeah.
People aren't always going to agree on it, but it's good to have a strong democracy where we can all have our own tastes.
Yeah, it's true, and I've obviously met a famous publisher today.
Really?
Yeah, from Extremis Publishing, yeah. Do you know him, Tom?
I may have possibly, possibly. It's the old story actually. I remember speaking to somebody and saying to them, you know, you're the only person that could write the story. We had to get just the right author for it. And said, what could you not get him like? So, if people would like to listen to your show, and I believe you should, because it's a fantastic programme to listen to, and certainly to hear a great variety of content that's on there. What's the best way for people to do that? Should they get the app? Should they,
Get the app or type in forthvalleyradio.co.uk. That'll take them to the page, and they can look down at all the presenters and see all the different shows and decide what they want to listen to. Big announcement though, it looks as though I'm going to come off Monday nights due to commitments, and there's a good chance I'll be doing a Friday 11 till 2 show, so I'm going to go to daytime. Woo!
Okay, excellent. So stay tuned.
Yeah.
And don't forget as well, if you have an audio or video streaming Android system, you're able to get a variety of different global and digital radio apps on there, which also cover Forth Valley Radio. So there's absolutely no excuse to miss Mark's show.
Oh, thanks very much, Tom. You've done me a great deed by hyping me up.
So, Mark, it's been an absolute pleasure to speak to you today, and you know, I really wish you every success with your show, with the Creative Veterans, and with all of the other things that you've got coming up, because you're a busy chap.
No, thanks for having me along, Tom. It's been an absolute pleasure. It's taken too long to get here, and no, it's been fantastic. And by all means, we will eventually. I know Julie's been in. But we will eventually get you into the studio, and we can maybe get a few requests from your 80s and 90s. Who was your favourite group, by the way?
Oh,
put you on the spot.
Simple Minds in the 80s, I guess.
Yeah, I like Simple Minds. And Paul Weller, perhaps?
Yeah, Paul Weller, Dandy Warhols in the 90s.
Yeah.
And Vanessa Carlton, I think, probably for around about the noughties.
Right, I tell you what, some good artists there.
Well, it was one of those unique times, wasn't it? Like so much good music, you get these periods where you know it's just never going to come again. You know, you get so many unique artists. So
No, fantastic periods, and thank you very much for inviting me. It's been a pleasure.
it's been great to speak to you, Mark, and I hope we'll have you on again soon.
100%. As long as the coffee and the ginger biscuits are there, I'm there.
So remember, folks, if you have an Android device or you have an iPhone, Fourth Valley Radio is what you want to be looking for. There's a tremendous variety of different content on there, and if you just do a search, you'll be able to see more about Mark and his show. So thank you very much for joining us today, and thank you very much, Mark, for having come in to speak to us.
Cheers, Tom.
I do hope that you'll tune in again soon.